Why would the US plan a second strike against Iran, especially while the regime is facing massive internal protests? The answer is happening in the shadows. Iran has quietly begun rebuilding its nuclear fortresses. Following the initial B-2 bunker buster strikes, satellite imagery spotted trucks entering the Fordow nuclear plant, scrambling to salvage the remaining nuclear material. So what does a US second strike actually look like? It unfolds in three distinct phases. Phase 1, the Blackout, using the silent Barker constellation jamming Iranian communication satellites. Phase 2 is the double tap, dropping the Massive Ordnance Penetrator or bunker buster weapon a second time to ensure destruction. More details all in the video ahead. Under the cover of nationwide unrest by the people, Tehran quietly rebuilt the shattered entrances to its nuclear fortresses, betting the world was too distracted to notice. But American satellites were watching, and this time, the Pentagon isn't planning a surgical warning, they are preparing a decapitation strike to end the threat permanently. The US goal was simple: counterproliferation. Break the centrifuges, smash the machines, and go home. But 6 months later, in January 2026, the strategic calculus has changed. Intelligence confirms Tehran is rebuilding the entrances to the Fordow and Natanz nuclear sites under the chaos of nationwide protests. Worse, the IRGC has begun a brutal, Tiananmen-style crackdown on over 340 protest sites. This time, Washington isn't looking to just break machines. This is a punitive and decapitation strike. The objective is total overmatch, destroying the regime's ability to govern and effectively aiding the revolution from the air. This is how the US executes the second strike. Before a single missile leaves a launch tube, the war begins in silence. This is Phase 1, the Blackout. The United States initiates an invisible strike designed to blind Tehran instantly. Hide above, Space Force operations, likely utilizing the classified silent Barker constellation, begin jamming Iranian communication satellites. In seconds, the link between the Central Command in Tehran and the provincial IRGC commanders is severed. Simultaneously, US Cyber Command triggers pre-planted malware within Iran power grid, a digital weapon similar to the rumored Nitro Zeus program. The result is catastrophic for the defense. Tehran plunges into darkness. Air defense radars flicker and fail, and the leadership is left blind, deaf, and panicked. Since June, Iran has hidden its surviving mobile air defenses, the Bavar 373 and Russian-made S-400s. To hunt them, the US Navy sets a trap. They launch hundreds of ADM-160 MALDs, miniature air-launched decoys. To an Iranian radar operator staring at a chaotic screen, these look exactly like a squadron of F-16s or F-15s screaming toward the capital. The bait is taken. Iranian radars light up to track the invasion force. That is the moment they die. Flying silently in the shadows, F-35s and F-22 Raptors lock onto the electromagnetic signals of the active radars. They unleash this advanced anti-radiation guided missiles. The Iranian air defense network isn't just suppressed, it is dismantled. Let's look at Phase 3. With the sky blinded and the defenders dead, the heavyweights arrive. This is the core of the strike, Phase 3. Taking off from Whiteman Air Force Base in Diego Garcia, the B-2 Spirits approach the hardened mountains of Fordow. Since the first strike, Iran has poured deeper concrete. A single bomb might not be enough, so the US Air Force executes a tactic known as double tapping. The first bomber drops a GBU-57, it's a massive ordnance penetrator. It slams into the mountain, blowing open the newly reinforced blast doors. Seconds later, a second bomber drops its NOP directly into the crater created by the first. The second bomb travels vastly deeper into the mountain before detonating. The resulting shockwave doesn't just damage the facility, it collapses the mountain from the inside out. The final phase marks the biggest shift from 2025. We aren't just hitting nuclear sites anymore. We're targeting the regime's survival. From the depths of the Persian Gulf, the US Georgia launches a salvo of Tomahawk cruise missiles. Their targets are not factories, but people and command centers. IRGC barracks and intelligence HQs are struck to sever the chain of command, fueling the crackdown on protesters. Finally, to prevent a retaliatory strike on Israel or Saudi Arabia, the US targets the missile cities, the vast underground depots in the Zagros Mountains. The goal is to trap the regime's ballistic arsenal underground, burying their sword before they can swing it. The second strike is designed to be the final word, By combining cyber warfare, space dominance, and the heaviest conventional ordnance on Earth, the US creates a scenario of total overmatch. But here's the question. The B-2 Spirits already hit these targets during Operation Midnight Hammer. So why do we need a second strike? The reason is simple. Intelligence shows they moved critical nuclear material out of the bunkers before and after the first strike occurred. So let's go back and recap exactly what happened during Operation Midnight Hammer. The US deployed 6 B-2 Spirit bombers, each armed with GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrators, deep penetrating bunker buster bombs designed for hardened targets like Fordow. These strikes targeted the mountain ridge directly above the tunnel network and underground enrichment halls, aiming to penetrate the fortified layers and disrupt Iran's nuclear operations. The B-2s also targeted at least 6 of the known tunnel entrances leading into the facility. Post-strike satellite imagery, along with assessments from weapons experts, confirmed that at least 3 of the 4 main entrances sustained significant damage. Large craters were visible near these access points, indicating a direct hit and probable disruption to the facility's internal infrastructure. Roughly an hour before the B-2s crossed into Iranian airspace, a U.S. Navy submarine launched over 30 cruise missiles targeting the Isfahan nuclear site. A simultaneous attack from sea and air created chaos and stretched Iranian defenses thin, adding another layer of confusion to an already overwhelming assault. At around 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time, 2:10 a.m. in Iran, the lead B-2 bomber released 2 massive ordnance penetrators over the Fordow nuclear facility. Over the next 25 minutes, 14 MOP bombs were dropped across Fordow and Natanz, tearing into the reinforced underground complexes. Almost simultaneously, the cruise missiles struck Isfahan with devastating precision. With their mission complete, the B-2s turned back and exited Iranian airspace just as silently as they had arrived. Despite extensive damage to the targeted sites, Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan, Iran secretly relocated its 400-kilogram stockpile of 60% enriched uranium to an undisclosed location before the U.S. airstrikes on its nuclear facilities. Unusual truck activity at Fordow. In the days leading up to the strikes, satellite imagery revealed a convoy of 16 cargo trucks lined up along the main road leading to the tunnel entrance of the Fordow fuel enrichment plant. This was highly unusual, as such large-scale vehicle activity had not been observed before, suggesting preparations to transport sensitive materials. The following day, most of the trucks had disappeared from the site, while a few were spotted about a kilometer away from the tunnel entrance. The scale and timing of this movement strongly indicated the removal of critical assets, most likely the enriched uranium. Tunnel sealing operations. Additional satellite images showed trucks and bulldozers positioned near the main tunnel entrances. Some vehicles appeared to be involved in sealing off the tunnels, likely in an effort to prevent inspection or further attacks. These actions suggest a coordinated effort to secure or hide what had been stored inside. According to the International Atomic Energy Agency and U.S. intelligence, the underground enrichment halls and tunnel entrances sustained very significant damage. Some tunnels will reportedly collapse or backfilled in anticipation of an airstrike. Above-ground infrastructure, including power systems and facilities linked to uranium conversion and metal production, was heavily damaged or destroyed. Leaked reports from the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, based on initial battle damage assessments by U.S. Central Command, confirm the credibility of these findings. However, the assessments also note that the strikes did not eliminate the core components of Iran's nuclear program. Most centrifuges and enriched uranium stockpiles survived intact. As a result, the DI estimates that while Iran's nuclear ambitions have been delayed, they have only been set back by a few months, not dismantled. But let's take a look at the possible scenarios where they have hidden these nuclear centrifuges. Evidence and expert analysis suggest Iran may have moved nuclear material from Fordow to several possible locations. One likely option is the underground tunnel network at sites like the Isfahan nuclear complex, which reportedly remain intact after recent airstrikes. Natanz, with its history of underground construction, could also house some of the material. Major nuclear facilities like Isfahan and Natanz have the capacity to store such material, even after partial damage. Iran may also have relocated it to secret or undeclared sites, including military bases like Parchin or unknown underground bunkers. Dispersing the material across hidden locations would reduce the risk of total loss. We also made a deep dive into the sea, air, and land components of the nuclear triad, so subscribe for more videos to not miss a beat.